When you wake up in the morning, you forget your dreams. But where in the world do they go? In the morning, dreams get gathered somewhere, and they become the energy that creates a whole world of its own. And if people stopped dreaming, that world would disappear. And that is what became the setting for Phantomile. Klonoa Door to Phantomile is a game that's highly regarded by all its fans. It's a game that has a mascot that's so well designed that most people wonder how they haven't heard of it before. I myself had only heard a little bit about Klonoa and seen him around, but I had never really played any of his games before. While many people remember this game as a nostalgia trip down memory lane, myself and many others do not. Because despite how many adoring fans this game has, the game itself and its franchise as a whole is mostly forgotten. With only 2 mainline series games and a couple of spin-offs, the franchise as a whole is very small. Not to mention they haven't released a new game since 2002. And for those of you who don't know how to do math, that was exactly 22 years ago. This game, Klonoa Door to Phantomile, did get a remake on the Wii, in 2008, and it's been a dead franchise ever since, though both games did get a remaster in 2022. To put it lightly, this franchise, despite the praise it gets, has not made a new game in 22 years, which to me sounds like a dead franchise. But that's exactly what this new show on my channel is all about. We're going to be taking a look at some older games, some good, some bad, and obviously I'll be the judge of that. We're going to be seeing if people look back at these games with the lenses of nostalgia, or if these games are worth remembering. And I think what better game to look at than a fondly remembered classic like Klonoa. With a game franchise that hasn't been touched in 22 years, one really has to ask, what exactly is being forgotten here? Before we get into the review, I think it may be beneficial to brush up the history books and look at the development of Klonoa from the very start. Back in 1997, when the game was being worked on, it was developed and created by Hideo Yoshizawa, and a lot of the character designs for the game are credited to Yoshihiko Arai. Klonoa's inception is full of redesigns and reworkings until we finally get the version of Klonoa we see today. According to Hideo Yoshizawa, the game originally was supposed to be about a robot that explored ruins and was an action game with a much darker tone. We don't know too much about the original concept other than the main character's design, which I'll put on screen now, and the fact that it had a darker tone to it, most likely post-apocalyptic. And as we all know, post-apocalyptic is not well suited for children. No, this concept was quickly dropped in favor of making the game that appealed to a wider audience. Hideo Yoshizawa wanted to make a game that stood out from the rest at a time where most games are going for a darker tone, especially games that are being released on the PlayStation. So, what could be lighter and more appealing than a cat-like creature? And this, of course, is the thought process that brought about the creation of Klonoa. Creating Klonoa's world is one that took a lot of fine-tuning and changing before something was settled upon. Hideo is commonly quoted to have said, "When you wake up in the morning, you forget your dreams, right? But where in the world do they go?" From there, I remember thinking, in the morning, dreams get gathered somewhere, and they become the energy that creates a whole world of its own. If people stop dreaming, that world would disappear. And that became the setting for Phantomile. Finally being released in 1997 under Namco, the game was overall received fairly well, with many reviewers stating the game was fun, lacked repetition, and the art style was gorgeous. Many people praised the 2.5D style, in which you move in a 2D space, but the background and graphics use 3D imagery. This creates a really unique style for the game, which does date it a little bit, but at the same time, it's very refreshing. There wasn't much like it at the time, so it was seen as a unique breath of fresh air for many people. And it's this uniqueness and accessibility that the developers are going for to make the game to be enjoyed by all. So with that quick history lesson out of the way, let's talk about the game itself. Klonoa Door to Phantomile follows Klonoa, a young creature of unknown origin that resembles a cat who goes on a wacky adventure with their paralysis demon. We open with a cutscene of Klonoa walking through a forest when he finds a strange ring that falls from the sky. This is where Klonoa meets his friend Hupao, who was inside the ring this entire time. After getting to know each other a little bit, they notice a giant object fall from the sky on Bell Hill, which seemingly causes the end of the world. However, as we find out, it was all just a dream. However, when Klonoa wakes up to see that his paralysis demon is real, and that something did indeed land on Bell Hill, he decides to go on an adventure to find out what's going on. We then spend some time trying to climb said hill, while getting a feel for the game's mechanics and gameplay loops. First segment of the game is oozing with charm and personality, and the art style really shines as they try to bring this world of dreams to life. Your enemies are absolutely adorable, and murdering them by throwing them into each other almost feels bad, but you'll feel less bad as time goes on because becoming desensitized to your own war crimes is just human nature. Klonoa, on the other hand, doesn't hesitate for a moment as we see the core game mechanic that makes up the entire game. With our little friend Hupao, we can grab our enemies and inflate them? That inflated enemy can now be thrown at other stuff to destroy more enemies or to solve puzzles, hit switches, or break eggs. And when I tell you this is the core game mechanic, that's because there really isn't anything else that you can do. This is your moveset. That's it. The reason why I highlighted this is because it really goes to show how important developing and using even one core game mechanic can go a long way. Many games today gives you so many options that it can often feel confusing, but with this one mechanic, it can be used in so many different ways. Yeah, you can throw it left or right, but you can also throw it down to get higher jumps, which becomes a necessity for platforming later in the game. It can also be thrown at the background and foreground in order to hit objects that are not directly in front of you, making really good use of that 2.5D concept. This really makes the environment feel a lot more alive, as you constantly have to wonder if things in the background are actually of importance, or if a large object could actually be in the foreground. For example, when you see a large windmill at the start of the game, you think, oh, that's in the background, that's not really important. However, later on, you can actually travel to that same windmill, and you can be inside of it. A lot of doors and other things in the background are also places you can travel to later on. Looking back at the ability to inflate your enemies, it's one simple concept that is expanded on the entire game, with the player truly needing to master this ability as they are challenged time and time again with new scenarios and challenges to make use of this ability. Hideo Yoshizawa claimed that the inspiration for this ability is the idea that we are literally filling these guys' heads with dreams, which causes them to get all poofy and inflated. Early concept art of this mechanic can also be seen where Hupao seems more like a beast on a chain. While I do like this concept a lot, I do think that what they went with in the end did fit the tone better. Either way, this first level just goes to show how important this mechanic is, and it's a very easy way to introduce the mechanic at a low difficulty in order for players to try it out. At the end of the level, we meet our first character, this old sculptor named Baloo, who made the big statue outside. He's okay. Now we journey inside of the mountain in this sort of cave level. You venture in and out of the cave in order to make your way up to the top of the mountain. It's pretty fun to go up this mountain, and the game makes pretty good use of environmental storytelling to show a progression to the top. In a lot of ways, this game really shows the improvements made of platformers and their design since the original Super Mario Bros. An evolution of a fun idea, which is now a medium to explore a world such as Phantomile. At the end of the level, we are introduced to our two main villains, Gadius, the Lord of Darkness, and Joka. Joka is just happy to be included. Gadius explains in a monologue that he wants to cover the world in darkness. Oh no! And he needs to ensure that the diva Lephis does not sing the song of rebirth so he may accomplish his dreams of global annihilation. This Gadius guy is up to no good, and clearly it's up to us to stop him. This is Gadius' original concept art, which resembles that of a clown. I think it's pretty interesting to look at that because this would later on go to be the main concept behind Joka. So it's very interesting that the design was separated from the character, but it went on to become his sidekick. And instead of that, Gadius was given a much sleeker and tall design with a very strange and creepy bird mask. Which really makes him a bit of an intimidating figure in the game. The fact that he's not really pixel art like the other characters and instead is a 3D model with a humanoid chin really sets this guy apart from the start. And I think it really does wonders for the character and the tone that he brings to the table. We then proceed with our first boss fight with Jogo's little pet, Rongo Lango, who is a pretty rad looking lizard that is made with a PS1 3D graphics. After punching him in the spine a couple of times, you take down this boss. Now, I know I told you guys that I was going to be doing a spoiler part of the review, and this is still true, but I would first like to do something very special before we do that. I actually managed to score something pretty cool, something I don't think has ever been done on YouTube before. I managed to get an interview uh, with someone who was very involved with the development of the game. So I would like you to please put your hands together for the one, the only, the real Klonoa. Well, I just gotta say, I am so far such a huge fan of your game. Could you maybe tell us a little bit about the development of your game and how, what was that all like for you? Nope, I still have no idea what you're saying. Thank you so much, though, for coming down here, Klonoa. It's been a real blast having you. Shark roommate, if you could please take Klonoa back home, that'd be great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, sure. Anything else?
Ooh, wait. You can talk?
Yeah.
Since when?
I don't know. Since always, I think.
Huh. Anyways, thank you for joining us, Klonoa. Get out. Now, for the end of the game, I really don't want to spoil too much because I really do think that if you want to play a good platformer, you should really play this one blind. But I'm going to go ahead and tell you that the end of the game gets ridiculously hard. If you've seen my live stream of the game, then you'll know that I'm either really bad at this game or the difficulty spike is insane. The bosses get a lot harder. If you see the Joker fight, I think was fairly tough. But especially that last level was like most of my playthrough. It was really hard, at least for me. That's probably the only thing I would say that really puts the game down a little bit. I think it would be almost a perfect game if it weren't for such a massive difficulty spike at the last level. The very last level is unlike any other level in the game. There is a pretty crazy twist at the end of the game regarding the entire premise of the setting and just about everything. I would spoil it now. I mean, obviously the game's been out for a while, but honestly, I just think you need to play this game for yourself. Um, and with all that said, I gotta say this game was really good. I have to say that for my first review for an old game, Klonoa really does feel like a game that deserved a lot more than what it got. It's a bit of a shame that people don't remember this game as much as they should. But the people who do remember it very fondly, and they really like this game. And I can definitely see why now after playing it. Uh, the game's mechanics are really well put together. Uh, the story is nice. It's simple, but it's good. And overall, just like it's a game that's well put together. The music, if you've been listening to the music during this video, that's all Klonoa music. It's very, very good. I'll link in the description which tracks I use because the music is very good. Um, and overall, it's just a real shame. A real shame. I gotta say, Klonoa to me was a really fun experience. I had a lot of fun playing with you guys during the live stream. So thank you so much for everyone who was tuning in. Overall, I think I have to give this game a 9 out of 10, only because of that massive difficulty spike at the very end. I think it was absolutely crazy. Either that or I'm just really bad, or both. Both are possible. But I think everything else about this game is honestly near perfect because I think it's really well made. But yeah, that's going to do it for my review. Thank you all so much for watching my newest video. It's been a while, but I am back. And if you want to see more videos like this, consider subscribing. If you like this one, you should like. If you didn't like it, dislike it. No one else will see it, but I will. I'll see the dislike. I'll see the hate. And if you had an opinion, you should consider commenting. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.